Yeah, I guess there's some discussion about the 15-inch size limit that used to be on Winnebago. I mean, this is a long time ago. This is back in the early 90s. Um, from about 85 to 90, Wisconsin went through some really dry years. The spawning marshes were dry. There wasn't much reproduction going on, and everybody felt that the number of fish in Winnebago was decreasing. And so then we started Walleyes for Tomorrow in '92, and the DNR decided to put a 15-inch size limit on Winnebago. We'd never had, been 5 bag, no size limit forever. And maybe there was one years ago that I don't know about, but anyway, to protect the spawning stock. And because once it started raining, we started getting year classes. And those year classes, as they grow, obviously, they were getting cropped off. So the thought process was put on a 15-inch size limit. And what we now know for Winnebago, 15 inches, it increases the number of fish that are not caught in the lake possibly, but it has nothing to do with the spawning stock actually, other than the fact that the female walleyes grow faster than the males do. And so when you have a 15-inch size limit, the first fish that you're going to catch that gets, or the first fish that makes it to 15 inches is more than likely a female. So as the populations started to kind of come up in the early 90s based upon better water flow, and I got to give a pitch out to Walleyes for Tomorrow, we started doing a marsh habitat work up on the rivers. Primarily the Eureka Dam was the big plus for us, because Gordy Priegel had determined back in the 60s, late 60s, that every fry of every species that came over the Eureka Dam, it's called a lowhead dam, got ground up in the boil hole, and we filled that in '92. So the spawn from the Fox River was now coming into the lake, and it's a whole different breeding system between the fox and the wolf. The fox is low, flat land, much warmer water early in spring, so the spawn happens earlier then. But getting back to the 15-inch size limit, what we know now is sexual maturity has nothing to do with size. It has everything to do with age. We paid for a study. Ryan Koenigs from Oshkosh, from the Oshkosh office, did the study, and he looked at 3,000 dead walleyes between Walleyes for Tomorrow and Otter Street over the course of 2 years. And what he found was approximately 80% of the 5-year-old fish had never spawned once, and approximately 80% of the 6-year-old fish had spawned one time. And these can be any length. Fish grow at different rates lengthwise, basically dependent upon how much they have to eat, what the forage amount is and the forage quality is. But what we now know, at least on Winnebago, so this 15-inch size limit back in the day really had nothing really to do with a strong spawning stock, other than the fact that it protected a lot more fish. People were catching 12, 13-inch fish, they had to throw them back. So you built up the entire population rather than just the spawning stock. But it was taken off after a few years. It did what was intended. It brought the overall population up and was taken off after a few years. And what we have now is phenomenal compared to then. The first year Walleyes for Tomorrow, the first year Walleye weekend was in Fond du Lac. The tournament winner had 10 fish. They weighed 13 pounds. They averaged 1.3 pounds per fish. So back in the day, we had a lot of small fish in the lake. Probably a lot of big fish too, but we as a fishing community didn't know how to catch them. Didn't know where they were and didn't key on them, but nevertheless, and that happened for a couple of years. When Walleye Weekend first started, the catches were 10 fish because it was an individual tournament. You could have 5 each day as an individual. and the tournament weights were always, the winning weights were always 13, 14, 15 pounds. So just had walleye weekend this weekend, and I think the winning weight for what, 10 fish was 27 pounds. So fish are doing well now. There's more fish in the lake than there were then, more forage in the lake than there was then. The lake is cleaned up, so we don't need a 15-inch size. We don't need any size limit. There's more than sufficient number of adult females in this lake now to sustain the population. Exploitation being what it is, you take fish out every year, but as long as you have enough adult females spawning every year to make up for that exploitation, there's no reason really to protect the females, and we have more than sufficient females right now. So we're doing well.